we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. I'm your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast for any reason, let us know if you want to hear about a new topic or come on as a guest. I'd love to have you here and join me in the hot seat. Well, not so much a hot seat, but warm at least. Warm and inviting seat. But reach out if you'd like to come on. And if I haven't asked you yet, don't take it personally. Just come on in. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening. Could have been doing anything else with your time right now. And you're here with me tonight and us, and we're engaging in podcast listening, in the podcast engagement system scenario, whatever you want to call that whatever this, when you plug into just listening to someone talk at you like I do. And hey, I hope you're enjoying what you're hearing, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. And if you want to support, hit us up a little bit. Hit us in the comments, hit us in the DMs, engage with us. That's the best way you can support. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, all that good stuff, or if you're watching on Spotify, follow along. And if you want to go one further step, really check out our Patreon, patreon.com/BigmarkPod. There's a couple different ways to support that way. So again, thank you all for being here again and again and again. I wanted to talk about, it's funny, we did the podcast on change, where there's obviously a little bit more of a abstract concept. We're going to kind of stay with that same kind of thing, where I wanted to talk about the dog days of summer, and I guess it's a relatively specific thing. I mean, I know we have listeners all over the world, and I don't know if this is just a Western or North American thing, but the dog days of summer are usually the last few weeks of August, maybe the first week of September. Like summer's wrapping up, things, school's coming up for a lot of people, right? It's always so funny. I've been out of school in any case for so long, but still there's something about September where, maybe it's just this collective kind of, you're feeling all these people, all these little kids and beings and adults in university, and all these people going back to school. And maybe that energy is just kind of contagious, right? And then, the summer does end, right? Obviously the season itself is going to be coming to a close too, right? So these are just like, the last days, let's just put it that way. I mean, I guess it goes all the way till, what is it, September 21st? What is the fall? Anyway, whatever the fuck. Anyway, these last few weeks are just kind of, it's a feeling of change. It's funny enough, it's kind of like we're almost springboarding off the change episode of the podcast here, if you're kind of listening along. And maybe I see it that way a little bit more, just because, again, usually going back to school and everything, but the last few weeks of August anyway, we're usually training camp for football, or at least getting back to school and like, getting back in your place and doing all that stuff, right? But there's always this kind of feeling of just like getting ready to go, and August is just this. It's funny, I was talking to my buddy at almost said at school. I was talking to my buddy Chris at work, and we were saying, like, man, August is kind of a shitty month. I mean, don't get me wrong, August is great. My sister was born in August at the beginning, but there's something about the back end of August. I don't know what it is. I mean, with my buddy, it was, his dog passed away, and he had to put his dog down, and this just happened, and some other things, and our buddies are leaving. Another Chris that we actually work with, he's our good buddy, he's leaving. I talked about him in the change episode. He's moving on to greener pastures. And then my buddy Nick Evans, who's been on a guest in the podcast, has moved back to Newfoundland. So again, great change for everybody, but also major change on our side too. And I guess it's not necessarily in our control, which always sucks. And I when I was saying, it kind of reminds me of training camp and getting back to things and stuff. It's like, yeah, that stuff's kind of fun. Honestly, I don't know why that would make me feel weird, but I thought about it a little bit more, and it's kind of like, well, there was the first year anyway. First year, I don't think I've ever really talked about this much on the podcast, and maybe I have, but my first year, leading up to going to Western, I'd already committed to the team. I was ready to go. I had already been committed to the team for about a year because I did go back to school for my victory lap. So I had already known I was going to Western for a long time. But at the time, I was dating a girl at the time, my ex-girlfriend. I was dating her at the time in high school. We had met. What was it? The summer between grade 11 and 12, I think is when we first met. Anyway, and then so I think we only dated for 2 years, and it's always so funny when you look back at when you were young, you go, fuck, like 2 years seemed like such a long time. And I mean, 2 years still, I guess it is a long time. I mean, I think I've said this before. When you're young, like let's say you're 10 years old, 2 years is 20% of your life, right? So the younger you are, the more time is like a chunk of your entire life. So that's how I kind of see this. And when you're older, it becomes such a minuscule part of your, if you're 50 and you lose a year, it's a 50th of your entire life, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a chunk, but it's also, I mean, when I say lose a year, I mean, just like when you're thinking about time and like, oh, I have to do this for a couple years. That doesn't seem like a long time when you're older, and I can say this from experience. At least it feels that way anyway. But again, just looking back at it, 2 years seemed like a long time. But we had, a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. Let's just put it that way. It was really, we loved hard, and then we kind of fought hard a little bit. It wasn't like, we were screaming at each other all the time. But there was unfortunately a couple screaming matches, which is like, come on, man, like we're like young kids. Like, what the fuck do we have to scream about? But anyway, but when it was good, it was good. And I think that was mutual feeling, I hope. But needless to say, there was like, who knows, on my side and on her side, maybe a little bit of mental health struggle happening, right? I was really focused on sports and stuff, and probably wasn't focused on the relationship as much. And again, like I said, who knows what's going on my end. And then I think she was kind of battling with certain things, and I don't know, maybe I don't even want to go into specifics here. I'm not going to say her name, but some people might know. But let's just say there were some mental health struggles, and not some untruths being told, but some not like honest, actions happening. On both sides too, because I was kind of like getting so focused on sports and being like, fuck, like I kind of made the the young man naive decision to be like, I want to be single my first year, and I kind of just wanted to focus on school and sport too, because I knew how demanding it was going to be. And we broke up right at the beginning of the summer, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure at this point I had, I just was on kind of a drunken night. One night out with the boys and girls, and like hanging and trying to dance and trying to like, make it with another girl kind of thing. So again, obviously I was not being faithful as I should have been, and I was already kind of decided in my head I wanted to end it. But obviously my behavior is abhorrent, and I regret it. I'm not proud of it, and I'm sorry about it. But my decision was, I'll just break up with her, and we'll go from there. And I won't tell her, but obviously, because in my mind had already kind of decided. So we had broken up at the beginning of the summer. She did not take it very well. She was very upset. It was very upsetting. I was very, very sad for both of us, obviously. But like I said, I had already kind of like made up my mind, and yeah, it just wasn't good. She kind of kept reaching out and stuff, and I was with her. I was feeling the same way, and I was trying to be like, we have to kind of like stick this out, see if this is what we want. But we both, I caved. We both caved. Let's just put it that way. It takes two to tango. Don't get me wrong, but it was definitely a difficult. I think we only were broken up for like maybe a week or something, or 2 weeks. It wasn't even crazy because we got back together for the rest of the summer, and like the rest of the summer again, like I said, maybe a couple months, and next thing you know, 1 week before I actually had left to go, I was supposed to go to Western, and she was supposed to go to Western too. Like we had got back together and saying like, hey, listen, we're both going to go to be going to Western together. Maybe this is going to be a whole new chance, whole new thing. Her home life was a little rough as well. So we're like, we're going to be away from your parents, and we'll be able to kind of, spend time. But that was the other thing that was like putting a lot of pressure on things, was like, I had always been like, it's all right, I'll help you with all these things, instead of trying to help her help herself in a way, but also, create also a support system that she can call on a few different people that can help her, instead of, putting all her pressure on one. Because if I fail, then she's fucked. Or if I feel like too much pressure, then I'm going to cave. Right. So, it was kind of like that. But like I said, I thought it was a good idea at the time. And I just thought, okay, maybe we'll get back together and all will be right. And now I'm getting the timeline fucked up. I can't remember when that drunken night happened. Doesn't matter. Either way, no, 100% different night. It happened earlier. Like I said, my statement stands, Your Honor. So anyway, another night went on where I went out with my friends. She went out with her friends. She had started a new job, and she had been working at this place for a couple weeks, I guess, at this point. But she was like going out, and she always complained. She's like, the people at work suck. I hate it. Everyone's always this, that, and the other. All these politics. Everyone's a bitch. Everyone's a fucking dickhead. Whatever. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Hey, I'm at a party with my friends from work, and like I was out too. I was 19, so I wasn't underage drinking, but it was like drinking out of high school and stuff right before I was going away. I think it was one of the last nights before I was going away to school to Western for training camp." And she's like, "Oh, I'm going out to this party with my friends," and I was like, "Oh shit, like I thought you didn't like those people. Like all she's ever done was talk about how much she hated them." And I go, "Oh, I didn't. I thought you weren't down with those people. Like what the hell?" And I think she either took that really the wrong way, or she was like, "Fuck you, you don't like my friends," or this, that, and I don't even know. She was saying some wild shit, and we were both just like, "I'm done." I'm pretty sure I was like, "I'm done with this fucking shit," and she's like, "I'm done too. Maybe we should just take a break," kind of thing, or whatever. And I was just like, "Fuck it, yeah, me too." So it was kind of like a little bit of a fuck it moment. But it was also like, yes, like obviously this is not working out. I'm not 100% back in. I don't think I actually changed my fucking Facebook status back from single, but I don't think I hit it. And stupid high school fucking Facebook moves. But yeah, it didn't. It a 2.5 at that point or whatever year relationship went down the tubes over text. Never really got to see her again. I don't think. In person. I don't think I ever got to see her again. And it was like right before training camp, and I was like, fucked. And then literally it was like, I think less than a week before I actually had to go. So it's like right at the beginning of August. And August 8th, I think, hilarious, which is a really, or August 4th, maybe. Anyway, I was going to say August 8th is a very lucky day. I wasn't very lucky if that was the day. In Chinese numerology, But anyway, I can't remember. I can't believe I can remember all this stuff. Regardless, she, like, less than a week right before I was going to training camp. I think I was already at training camp when this first happened. So, like, there was a little bit of time where, you know, I just had some of her stuff that she had at my place. I just gave it to my mom because I think she was talking to my mom, I guess, still, because her and my mom had, you know, had gotten to know each other. And so I didn't actually see her for the, you know, exchange of goods, so to speak. And she did that with my mom. She, like, gave back, like, this, like, necklace that I bought her and stuff. So it was like, oh, fucking sick. And, like, my mom was like, she was, like, not even sad. She wasn't even crying, because I guess she had seen her earlier in the summer, that time when we broken up before. She had seen her during that time, and she was, like, beside herself. My mom was like, oh, fuck. So either she was, like, you know, on the right cocktail of meds, or she was, like, really done. And basically, I think it was like 1 or 2 days into me being at training camp. Maybe it happened even before. She had, like, posted these pictures of her and this guy, like, on a beach day or whatever. And then him, obviously, back in her room. I could tell it was her room, like, getting changed or whatever. I was like, dude, come on. Like, what are we doing? My cousin Ingrid, yo, shout out Ingrid if you're watching. She actually was like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, she, like, reached out, sent her a message, was like, what are you doing, like, posting this shit right now? Like, if that's the case. So, like, obviously, she wasn't being faithful either. Both of us weren't into it. Both of us weren't happening. I think I had asked her straight up, because I did tell her about that night, which was awful. Again, like I said, never do it again. And I told her, though, about me kissing someone else. Me kissing someone else. And she obviously took that very poorly. But before then, she had told me that I don't think she said she kissed him. I think maybe she said she kissed this dude when we were still together or whatever. Either way, regardless, both of us are not into it, not fucking being faithful to each other. Terrible. Fucking even at that age, what the fuck are we doing? Terrible. I feel awful about it to this day. I feel terrible, but also, you know, I know I had to tell her. So it was brutal to see all that shit. So, like, I think that really fucked in my head, even though I had done something already, but I was like, you know, it wasn't even like, this is a concerted effort to, like, get a new relationship here. I was just being stupid and drunk, not caring. I'm just throwing caution in the wind that if she found out that I did that, she'd want to break up with me. So then it would just boom, boom, you know, it would take care of itself kind of thing. But when you see someone who's like, all right, and then you can see, like, she's, like, with this guy essentially and stayed with him. And, like, I remember one night I was, like, all sad and fucking crying, called her, and, like, I'm like, you know, I'm so sorry about everything and all this stuff, and crying. And she's like, you like, stop crying essentially. And we talked on the phone for, like, probably 5 minutes. And all of a sudden she's like, I'm out to dinner with him right now. And I'm like, oh, fucking sick. Okay, peace. So she obviously was with him. So I was all fucked up. Plus training camp. Plus trying to learn a fucking binder's worth of plays. Brand new. Going against absolute monsters. Motherfucking monsters of the OUA in football. Tremendous OUA All-Stars. Going against them. Trying to be an offensive lineman. It was fucking sick. Don't get me wrong. I fucking loved every second of it. But I was fucked. And my mind wasn't all in it. I had to be. Or else I would have been dead maybe. No, or just, like, cut. I guess I was recruited. So I don't usually cut the recruits. But I'm sorry to my teammates and my coaches, to be honest. Because I was not with it. And I was not fucking telling you guys about it. And I was dealing with some fucking shit at night. And then my buddy who was with me, who we bunked up together during training camp, he got fucking cut. And I was literally there by myself at night, like, just, like, lying in bed all fucked up. So, yes, obviously, you know, I wasn't all in. I didn't do my part, in the relationship. But it ended really poorly. And, you know, that's one of these things where it's like, no wonder I think training camp at time is a fucking traumatic time, is because all this fucking shit happened to me. So, like, all that was going on. Again, my buddy's leaving, my buddy's dog dying, all these fucking shits. September 11th. No, well, fuck, I don't know. Shit. I guess that's in the dog days of summer if that's how we're going to fucking lay things out here. But again, a fun time too. It's kind of getting cooler. Not to take a fucking turn. I'm going to take a turn on this, baby. Let's see if we can pull it out here. Folks, if you're still with me, let's crank up. We're going to pull up on the joystick. And let's look at the good. Let's look at the good. At the end of the summer, it's starting to cool down. It was a fucking crazy hot summer here on the eastern side of North America, all over the world. It sounds like, we're talking mid to high 30s we were hitting. And thank God I was in a place with air conditioning. And but now it's starting to get cooler. You can open the window. We're playing golf again because it was honestly too fucking hot to golf, to be truthfully honest. But now it's getting cooler, and I love that fall golf. Don't get me wrong. I love that shit. And football and all this stuff, it is exciting, right? All this shit, don't get me wrong, it was traumatic, but it was also fucking exciting. And, I'm actually cooking. I'm smoking a roast right now, smoking a log, a fucking a bologna log, baby. A whole bologna log, a big motherfucker like this. Cut it up, put a little mustard. I got the Weber. I got the snake technique where I put the fucking coals in the snake. I wish I could take pictures. I should do a whole episode on the old snake technique for the smoker. Put a couple chunks of applewood smoke on there. The motherfucker is cooking. So, it is nice when the seasons are changing. And it is exciting to get back to school. It is exciting to have all this change. It's exciting, it's good to have the time off, but, you got to have work and play. You got to have the duality of things. And no matter what happens, I mean, I think I look back to those times, as times where whether they're hard, whether they're exciting, whether they're new, whether they're different, whether they're all, it's whether it's being thrust upon you or whether you're deciding, that constant remains, that change. Like this must be just an addendum really to the change episode, but I guess it just shows you where my head is at lately. Looking back on some of that stuff, right? I mean, the summer, you always want it to be nice. You always want it to be fun. And I think a lot of stuff happens at the beginning of summer. That's the classic time. Everyone wants to break up, June 21st kind of thing. They want to break up before the summer, all this shit. And then sometimes but you never know when this fucking shit happens. And it's amazing how resilient we can be. Obviously we keep going, but it's also funny how much things can affect you and you don't even want to admit it, right? You kind of almost just want to just say like, no, this is not affecting me right now. I'm trying to stay focused. I'm using this thing that I'm focusing on as a distraction from how much I'm hurting, right? I think that's the funniest thing with sports is that sometimes you can do that, right? Like you can give yourself into sports so much. You can totally, give into your sport in the sense where that's all completely consuming. Everything you do, workout wise, everything you eat, everything you're thinking about your opponent, you're thinking about, if you're a coach, you're thinking about your team, you're doing all these things where you don't have time to think about like, oh, I'm sad. Actually, in fact, there's some studies showing that weight training, hard resistance training actually helps you like create, I'm sure it's through like kind of creation of new cells, but helps you kind of forget traumatic events just because your body's just kind of rewiring itself a little bit to kind of go like, okay, we're moving on still. We're not down. We're not dead. We took a blow. We took a hit. We're hurt, but we're still clanging and banging. And that's what fucking Hulk Hogan really wanted to tell you. If anything, that's what Hulk Hogan's legacy left us. That no matter what, brother, you get in the gym and you clang and you bang. And everything will be all right. The dog days of summer, everybody. It's kind of one of those things where everyone knows what it is. It's as exciting as it is disappointing, maybe. If that's maybe too harsh of a word. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that because I got to. I got to go check on my smoked bologna. Thanks, y'all. Enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll see you next week. Love y'all. Peace.